Greetings, Earthlings. Today I want to talk about nutrition and diet. I got a request to make a video on nutrition and diet for students in particular, but I'm going to make this series of videos on nutrition and diet pretty much for everybody or for most groups of people. And in later videos, I'll point out where there are certain differences, maybe depending on the population for like a student. So, first thing, medical disclaimer to get that out of the way. I'm not a doctor or medical professional, so please do anything I say at your own risk. I don't want any of you guys to get hurt. If you have any pre-existing conditions or serious medical issues, probably a good idea to consult a doctor. All right, with that out of the way, we're going to kind of introduce the main theme of this video, which is we're going to lead up to principles. So first thing I want to say, the theme in the health and fitness series is, one of the themes is that everything is connected. Your health is connected to things outside of your health, such as your academic performance, and also what you do in your nutrition and diet. So for example, in a later video, I may talk about intermittent fasting. And if you decide to cheat on your nutrition and diet and do certain things, just realize that it's not just about your health and diet, that whatever you do in your health and diet, if you're disciplined there, that can help build your character, or vice versa, it can help ruin your character. Basically, it can help build up your character of being disciplined in other areas of your life, such as in your career, school, whatever. So keep that in mind, that everything is connected. Next, this is going to be a really big one. So what I want to start with is, what are your goals? So this is something I think you should ask or kind of indirectly have an idea of whenever you're listening to anybody. I'm going to state my goals so that it's, you guys don't have to guess. My goals in this series and on this channel in general are health. I'd say if I have to give you the exact breakdown, it's health and performance, but I'd say it's 95% health, 5% performance. I want to be fit. I want to encourage people to be fit, maybe be able to do pull-ups or push-ups, be athletically kind of in a physique-wise in a decent shape. But, I'm not going here to, I'm not trying to advocate that everybody look like a bodybuilder or be the world's fastest Olympic sprinters. So, or like be able to lift thousands of pounds of weight. So that said, if you're just training for a sport, or you have a very specific goal, your goal might be performance. So maybe you have like one thing and you don't care if you ruin your overall long-term health as long as you perform well in this one thing. That's not going to be my focus. So just keep that in mind. And whenever people are giving you advice, they may say, hey, take this supplement, or you should do this and this, or try this diet. You should ask, is this going to help your long-term health? Or is this a myopic or like a narrow-minded focus on just performance? Like, is this just to increase your bench press or your squat, or to run faster, or to be more alert during one exam? I'm interested in overall exam performance, overall health, long-term, living to 100 and older. So that's my focus. So I'm never going to try to kind of improve or give you guys tips for performance at the expense of health. And to the extent that like occasionally there might be little things, it's going to be 5% performance but 95% health. So that's where I'm coming from. So like as an example of that, and I might talk about this later in future videos, let's say coffee. Coffee is a known stimulant. So if you're feeling kind of sleepy or you need that extra energy and you have some coffee, for the immediate duration of, when you take it, you might feel a boost, like for your workout, for an exam, whatever. However, you have to ask, how is this going to impact you in the long term? If you get dependent on coffee and you start drinking it every day, maybe many cups a day, 5 cups a day, whatever. I'm not advocating for or against coffee right now. I'm just getting guys to think about, what are the short term, or like maybe the performance versus the overall health implications. All right, so that's my goal. My goal is health. Now, before we get to the principles, what are some specific considerations? So like everything I say in this video, it's probably going to be helpful for many types of, it's going to be, I'm trying to make it general, so it doesn't just apply for one specific person or a specific type of group of people. That said, many people have very specific health issues, or they have a specific consideration. Maybe they're in a cold climate, a warm climate. Maybe they're, a pregnant lady. Maybe they're very old and they have osteoporosis. Whatever it is, you might have a very specific issue, and I might talk about that in later videos in the series where we talk about personalization. So with that in mind, I want to get to the meat of this video, which is the principles. Now, nutrition and diet, unfortunately, can be a very overwhelming and huge topic, and I'm sure you guys can find a lot of stuff. So my goal is to help bring this together so you guys have a pretty decent starting point from which you can branch out and watch other videos. You could think about it for yourself. You can do whatever. Because I don't want to just say, here's the one thing and this is the best thing and you guys should just do what I'm telling you. So with that in mind, this video, right now we're going to talk about the 3 principles. Now, I think these are pretty great and these will get you very far. So the breakdown of this video and future videos is we're going to start very general, and then in the future videos we'll talk more about specifics, like specific foods that I recommend eating, I don't recommend eating, like in my experience, specific diets, specific tips and tricks. That's going to be in the future videos. But these 3 principles we're about to get into, this is really the most important part, because this is going to guide almost everything I tell you guys in future videos. So if you find yourself getting overwhelmed or confused, just go back to these 3 principles. All right, principle number 1. So principle number 1 for me is listen to your body. What does that mean? That means if I tell you if you eat celery you should feel good, and then you eat celery and you don't feel good, you should listen to how you feel and not what I tell you. So let me give you an example. So let's say if I have a pizza for dinner, like let's say I pig out and I eat 6 slices of pizza, or I eat a whole medium pie by myself. The next day I probably won't want to eat pizza again, or I won't want to eat it as much. Or vice versa. Let's say I eat a whole salad for dinner, but there's no protein in it. So it's literally just green. There's like spinach, cucumber, celery, whatever, maybe some olive oil. But there are no beans, no meat, nothing. I might feel kind of unfulfilled. I might feel hungry. And so maybe I can kind of go to sleep eating that, but the next day I'll be really craving some protein. So what am I getting at? Or let's say you don't drink any water for a day. The next day you're really gonna want some water. So in these extreme situations, if you're listening to your body is telling you what it needs. Now, most of us are pretty good, like I'm really thirsty, I'm really hungry. For those really large scale messages, we're pretty good at listening for that. However, so in fact, like I could have just stopped this entire series right here and say, my only thoughts on nutrition and diet are just listen to your body and give it what it needs, what it's telling you it needs. The problem is that only works, in my experience, for intermediate and advanced folks. If you're not very healthy yet, or you're very sick, or you're moderately healthy, you're kind of the average person, then your listening, like your sensitivity to what your body needs, is not very good yet. What do I mean specifically? So for example, there's what your body needs and what you're craving. So as someone who might be a little out of shape or not very healthy, you might confuse your cravings for genuine bodily needs. So you might say, hey, my body really needs a donut right now. I really need this chocolate bar. Like I really want something sweet. I need that banana. I really need something sweet. I need some, Twix, some Snicker bars, and some Skittles. I want that ice cream. I really need. So I'm not denying that that's what you're craving. The issue is, you're not in a position where you might not even know what your body needs because your messages are just going haywire. Your cravings are so strong. So because listening to your body is a pretty advanced technique, that's where you want to get to. That's what all of us are trying to get to, where you can just adjust it on the fly and just know, hey, today I'm feeling like I want to eat a big salad, or my body's telling me I want to eat some soup. I want to eat more greens right now. I want to eat a chicken, or I want to eat vegetarian. So, you know, maybe this whole week I feel like eating like a vegan. I want to eat paleo. I want to fast for a day because, you know, I'm not feeling well, and if I eat something, I'm gonna, you know, get sick and throw up or whatever. So basically, this is the main principle. Listen to what your body needs. If you're listening, you'll know if you're thirsty, you need water, if you need to increase your protein, if the quality of your food is no good, all that stuff. Now, like I said, for most people, that is a very kind of ambitious place to start, and only for extreme things like extreme thirst, extreme hunger, then you can actually hear what your body's telling you. But if you're having these like sugar cravings, like most of us do, you're not in a position to just use principle 1. So because of that, we're gonna need principles 2 and 3. So principle 2 is what I call building blocks. So what are building blocks? It's thinking of your body as just like physics and chemistry. If you're a builder and you're trying to build a building, you're gonna need the right ingredients and the right materials. So, or you're driving a car. If you pour orange juice into your car, you might be wondering like, why is this car not getting anywhere? Well, you gave it the wrong ingredients. So for the building blocks, we want to give your body all the things that it needs, the minerals, the vitamins, all that sort of stuff, all the good stuff, and in like the right quantity, the right base, all the good stuff, none of the bad stuff. If you give your body junk, right? So if I give you pieces of paper, you can't build a sturdy house out of pieces of paper. You might need some cement, some concrete, whatever it is, some steel. So you're gonna need the right ingredients. Also, I mean, the idea of building blocks covers a lot of things, because if I give you a ton of the right ingredients, but at the wrong time, the builders aren't there, it's just gonna sit there, just, you know, rusting, like it's raining and all your stuff is just out there outside. So this gets into timing, the quality of the food. So, you know, just think of it like a mathematician or a physicist. If you don't have, let's say, you know, iron, or you don't have potassium, or like whatever the minerals are, if you're deficient in one of these, your body does not have the right ingredients for optimal health and performance. Same thing, like let's say you're giving it everything it needs, but now you're giving it some junk too, some toxic stuff like lead, mercury, all that terrible stuff. Now it has to work hard, and now it's fighting, it's getting distracted. It needs to take care of this bad stuff, and again, you're not gonna have optimal health and performance. So that's the building blocks idea. You might wanna assess, like, what does my diet have? Maybe what does it have too much of? What does it have? What does it not have enough of? Am I getting it the right dosage? Is the frequency, am I eating it at the right time? You know, so if you're eating a heavy meal right before going to bed, that might be a bad idea. So that's the building blocks idea. That's principle number 2. Principle number 3 is going to be one word. And again, I'm trying to make these very simple, so not to make this academic, but to make this very actionable and practical for you guys. So principle number 3 is experiment. Experiment is, I mean that in 2 ways. So experiment by yourself, and also seek out information. I'm gonna say this and just, you know, use this with your common sense, but trust nothing and trust no one. So what do I mean by that? I don't care if it's a doctor or a world-class fitness trainer, or there's a published study or whatever. You need to experiment, and this goes back to the first principle, which is, how does whatever it is you're reading about, if you've tried it, how does it make you feel? So you need to experiment on yourself, I mean, provided it's not something crazy and dangerous. So if somebody says eating vegetarian is the best way to go, or vegan, whatever, and some other person says, no, it has to be the ketogenic diet or the paleo diet, you have to try this, I would say at least for 2 weeks straight, and see how your body responds. So it doesn't matter if, you know, professor whatever, or there's 4 medical studies, because here's the thing, you know, this year the studies say one thing, next year we find out they were poor studies, or there was a bias in the funding of the studies, or the experimental setup is incorrect. I've looked at several nutritional medical studies, and you really have to be able to dig into the science to know whether you can trust it. And again, I trust nothing. That said, it's not that I ignore. If you know, a medical professional or I see studies, I will certainly take this information in. So I'm not ignoring it, but I'm not going to take it on faith that it's correct. So I encourage you guys, listen to everybody, seek out information. So, you know, if this athletic person says, hey, I like to eat low carb, or this person says, you should eat more beans because they're healthy. Whatever the advice is, take note of it, try it out, and see how it works for you. So experiment. Don't trust it, because it might work for me, but it may not work for you. So for example, I may be, let's say a lot of girls or women may be deficient in iron during certain points of like the month, but then some other person who's been eating a lot of, like a male, been eating a lot of red meat or whatever, and they might have an excess of iron. So if I say everybody should eat more red meat, that'll work for the ladies, but it'll be terrible for someone that's already has an excess amount of iron in their system. So the advice can be well-meaning, but you really have to see if it's working for you. Now, the other thing, when I say, let's go back to principle 1. So we're going to tie it all together now. Listen to your body, experiment, and building blocks. Those are the 3 things. When I say listen to your body and experiment, the old me used to think like, what is the optimal diet? What is the best thing? The answer may be that there is no optimal diet, because maybe it's dynamic. So what do I mean? So for example, some people might say, well, during the winter we should eat a lower carb or ketogenic diet, and during the summer we should increase our carbs or whatever. So I want to throw out the idea that you might want to have variety and not eat the same diet all the time. So perhaps if you've been a vegetarian for 2 years and it's been great, you know, and now you're like, wait, but now I'm having health issues, maybe consider reintroducing meat. And maybe it's not forever. Maybe you reintroduce meat for a month, a year, and then you go back to being a vegetarian. So maybe it's a cyclical thing, or a dynamic, or a rotational diet. The point I'm making is, just like in the sleep videos I had on my channel, where we had to consider many factors, you know, so there's the spinal alignment, the organs, all the stuff. In the diet, it's not just because you feel great now with what you're eating. If you eat the same thing tomorrow, it may not work out as well, right? So like, I may be craving steak, but if I have steak every day the whole week, I might be getting too much of something. So listen to your body and realize that your needs may change over time. So you might be sick during one period, you might need a fast during another period, you might crave sweet potatoes, whatever it is, but it's okay for that to change. So I honestly, you know, I don't know that anybody has figured out what the optimal diet is, because, you know, in the olden days, people just ate whatever they could find. Now we have so much variety, no one's really, you know, run an experiment where they tried all the combinations. So to some extent, a lot of diets can get you 90% of the way there, you know, maybe a paleo or a lower carb diet or a vegetarian diet, but, you know, don't be dogmatic about it. That's my advice. Listen to your body and just be open to experimenting and changing things up, at least giving it a try. You never know if you can get like a small improvement. I'll leave it there. So in the next few videos, we're going to get into actual details like ingredients and specific low carb, ketogenic, vegetarian, fasting, all that sort of stuff. All right, I'll see you guys in the next few videos.